AITA for pressing charges against the family that raised me after my adoptive father slapped me at his birthday party, which ended up uncovering 18 years of fraud.
Welcome to Bookum Reverend Story. Today's story is about a girl who spent 18 years living in a storage room until one night changed everything. It's about a lie that's had been hidden for her entire life. Let's get started.
I need to write this down because there are people in my life telling me I am destroying a family, and I need outside perspective from people who don't know any of us. The court date is next week. I've been going back and forth on whether what I'm doing is right or whether I'm just angry and calling it justice. I genuinely can't tell anymore. I grew up in a house in Virginia with a family called the Talbots, Gerald and Donna, their biological daughter, who had her own room and her own car and her own college fund. I slept in a storage room off the hallway. I woke up early every morning to clean the house before Gerald got up. I cooked, I did laundry, I handled everything that needed handling, and I was not thanked for it, and I was not paid for it, and I was told regularly that this was simply the arrangement, and I should be grateful to have a roof. I did not have a birth certificate. I did not have a social security number. For as long as I could remember, I had existed without any official record of who I was. 2 weeks ago was Gerald's 55th birthday party, 30 guests, a catered event in the backyard. I had saved up for 3 months to buy him a gift. It was a leather-bound journal. I knew he kept notes, and I thought it was something he might actually use. I wrapped it carefully and put it on the gift table with the others. When he opened it, he looked at it for a moment. Then he looked at me and said it was garbage. Then he slapped me, open hand, across my face, in front of 30 people. The room went quiet. I stood there for a moment. Then I put down the glass I was holding, went inside, picked up the bag I had packed 3 days earlier because something had told me to have it ready, and walked out of the house. I did not go back. I was walking along the road about a mile from the house when a car slowed down beside me. A man got out. He looked at me for a long moment, and then he said my name. Not the name the Talbots used, a different name. He said his name was Richard. He said he had been looking for me for 18 years. He said my mother had died in a car accident when I was an infant. He said he had been in a coma in the hospital for weeks after the same accident, and that while he was unconscious, a social worker had processed paperwork placing me with the Talbot family. He said the social worker had forged his signature. He said by the time Richard recovered and understood what had happened, the trail had gone cold, and the adoption had been finalized, and he had spent 18 years trying to find me through every legal channel available to him. I stood on the side of that road at 11 o'clock at night and listened to all of this. Then I asked him how he knew it was me. He said he had a photograph of my mother. He said I looked exactly like her. I have been staying with Richard since that night. My lawyer, a woman he found through his own legal team, has been reviewing documents for the past 2 weeks. Here is what she found. The state of Virginia paid the Talbot family approximately $810 per month as a foster care subsidy for my entire childhood. Over 18 years, that comes to just under $175,000. I slept in a storage room. Their daughter had a car and a college fund and a bedroom with new furniture. The money that was supposed to provide for my care went to provide for hers. And the social worker who processed my adoption, the one who forged Richard's signature, received a payment of $5,000 shortly after the paperwork was completed. My lawyer found the record. So, the court date is next week. The evidence is documented. My father's lawyer is confident. And people who knew me through the Talbots' acquaintances, distant connections, have been messaging me saying I'm tearing apart a family, that Gerald has had a hard year. That I should think about what this does to Donna and their daughter. I keep thinking about the storage room. I keep thinking about 18 years of foster payments and a leather journal that was apparently garbage. AITA for going through with this? Is there a version of this that is just anger dressed up as accountability? I've asked myself that question 100 times, and I can't answer it clearly from inside the situation. TLDR. Adoptive father slapped me in front of 30 people at his birthday party. I left. A man found me on the road who claims to be my biological father. Documents show the social worker forged his signature. My adoptive family received $175K in state payments for my care while I slept in a storage room, and the social worker was paid $5,000 to process the adoption. Court date next week. People are telling me I'm destroying a family. AITA? Edit. My lawyer just called, she said, to get some sleep. I'm trying. Edit 2. Reading every comment. I don't have words for most of them. Thank you. Court is in 5 days.
What's really got me about this story is that it doesn't even start with the coerce case. It starts with someone who spent their entire life being treated less like a trial and more like an obligation. And honestly, that's heartbreaking to read. So the story, from the missing documents, waking up every morning to clean the house while their biological daughters got a normal childhood, the whole thing just felt deeply unfair. And the birthday scenes genuinely made my stomach churn a little. Because buying someone a doppelganger after years of being treated badly tells you this person still wants his love and unfruitful from him so badly. And then getting slapped in front of 30 people, publicly humiliated like that. Yeah, that feels like the exact moment of the inside of fully snapped. But I also can't stop thinking about Regis sewing off the same night. At first, it almost sounds unreal, like the kind of twist you wouldn't believe if it's happened in a movie. Which honestly makes me feel like the next part of this story is going to be even darker. Because if those documents are real, then this isn't just toxic family drama anymore. This could be 80 years of manipulation, stolen money, and people covering for each other behind the scenes. So with all of that in mind, let's get into the first of that, because this is the point when the story stopped feeling dredging and started feeling genuinely unbelievable.
Update 1 10 days later. The hearing happened. I want to write it down accurately. My lawyer presented the DNA results first. 99.998%. Richard is my biological father. The judge reviewed the documentation without comment. Then, the handwriting analysis. 2 independent forensic examiners had reviewed the adoption paperwork and compared the signature to samples of Richard's actual handwriting from the same period. Both concluded the signature was not his. The judge asked Gerald's lawyer if he wished to respond. Gerald's lawyer said they were disputing the findings. Then, my lawyer presented the financial records. The $5,000 payment to the social worker made within 2 weeks of the adoption being finalized. Bank records. A paper trail that had apparently been sitting in an account that nobody had looked at closely until now. Gerald was sitting at the table across from me. He did not look at me once during the entire proceeding. Then something happened that nobody had anticipated. Donna stood up. Her own lawyer tried to stop her. She sat back down for a moment and then stood up again and said she needed to say something. She said she had written the check, that Gerald had told her it was a consulting fee and she had believed him for years, and then stopped believing him but kept writing the checks he asked her to write because that was how their marriage worked, and she was tired of it. She said she was sorry. She said it more than once. The room was very quiet. The judge recessed for 20 minutes. When he came back, he read the ruling. The adoption was annulled. My name, legally and officially, is Hillary Whitford. The Talbot family was ordered to repay $174,960 to the state of Virginia. Gerald was charged with fraud, document forgery, and child abuse. Donna's charges are being considered separately given her cooperation. The social worker who had retired 2 years ago was named in a separate criminal referral. Gerald was handcuffed at the defense table. I watched them lead him out. I didn't feel what I expected to feel. I thought there would be something louder than what actually happened, which was that I sat very still and thought about the storage room and the 30 guests and the journal, and I felt the specific quiet of something finally being true out loud. My father was waiting outside the courthouse. We didn't say much. We walked to his car and he drove us home and made dinner, and we ate without talking about most of it. That was enough for that day.
Honestly, the part that hit me hardest here wasn't Gerald getting arrested. It's Wananda standing up. This moment genuinely gave me cheers a little bit because suddenly the whole story felt way heavier and more emotionally complicated. So it stopped being just about one true person and started feeling like years of people avoiding the truth because facing it would destroy everything around them. And the ending of this episode feels so painfully bitter too. Just Hillary finally hearing the truth out loud after 18 years of basically being invisible. And the image of her dad wildly driving her home and making dinner afterward really made me emotional. But I felt like the Cora's case were only the beginning. Something tells me of the two and where the emotional after might really start healing.
Update 2 final 6 months. Here's where things are. Gerald is awaiting trial. The Talbot family's assets have been frozen pending the civil judgment. Their daughter had to leave her university program when the tuition payments stopped. I don't follow the details closely. It stopped being my situation to monitor. Donna received a reduced charge in exchange for her full cooperation. I don't have strong feelings about that. She was controlled for a long time by someone who controlled everyone around him. I hope she finds something quieter on the other side of it. The social worker's case is moving through a separate process. I've given a statement. That's all I need to do. I have an apartment. It has large windows. I chose it specifically for the light. I wanted to live somewhere where the sun came in. It does. Every morning. I'm studying culinary arts at a community college. I have always loved cooking. For 18 years, I cooked for a family that didn't thank me for it, and now I cook for myself and for my father when he comes for dinner on Sundays, and for classmates who come over to practice techniques together. It turns out I'm good at it. It turns out I've always been good at it. My father and I are careful with each other. We are not trying to collapse 18 years into a rush of feeling. We meet for dinner, we talk about ordinary things. He told me last month that my mother used to cook on Sunday evenings with the radio on, and that she would have loved knowing I was studying it. He said it quietly, not to make me cry, just because it was true. I thought about that for days after. I want to say something about what several people asked me in the original comments, whether what I did was revenge, dressed up as accountability. I've thought about that question for 6 months. Here is my answer. Revenge would have felt like something. It would have had heat in it. What I felt when Gerald was led out of that courtroom was not heat. It was the specific and quiet feeling of something being correctly named after a very long time of being unnamed. I didn't need him to suffer. I needed the record to be accurate. The record is now accurate. I live in an apartment with good light. I am learning to make things from scratch. My father comes on Sundays. My name is Hillary Whitford, and it has been, apparently, for my entire life. That's what I needed. That's all I needed. NTA. Obviously, but the question I actually needed answered was whether wanting the truth to be told out loud made me a good person or just a person who was tired of the dark. I think it just makes me a person. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.
That's enough, Dr. Long. Didn't read Gerald arrested in court, charged with fraud, forgery, child abuse. Donna cooperated, facing reduced charges. Social worker referred for criminal prosecution. Talbot's assets frozen. I have an apartment with good windows. Studying culinary arts. Father comes for dinner on Sundays. My name is Hillary Whitford. I'm okay.
Honestly, after reading the entire story, I don't even think this will really about revenge in the end. And I think that's why the final of this hit me so hard emotionally. Because usually stories like this build towards some huge dramatic moments where the victim finally gets even and everybody celebrate. But this didn't feel satisfying in the sky blue way. It's feel quiet, heavy, and moment bittersweet. Like, what does someone slowly realize they deserve to access as a full person's the entire life? And honestly, that's way more emotional to me. I'm not gonna lie, but the sunlight justly make my chest hurts a little. Out of everything in the story, the flow of the course key, Gerald getting arrested, that tiny tale somehow saves the most. So after spending 18 years sleeping in the stormiest room, Hillary choosing a home filled with life feels so symbolic, it's almost painful for her. Yeah. And the cooking part really got me too. She spent her childhood cooking for people who barely acknowledge her assistant, and now she cooks for her South, her lesmes, and her father on Sundays. There's something so heavy about that, and honestly, I think the lie that's going to stay with me for a long time is, I didn't need him to suffer. I needed the record to be accurate. Because that is the moment the story stopped being about punishment and became something true, and then it is, and finally being seen as a real person. So let me know what you think about this one, because I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe to A Podcast Remember This Story, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.